We here. What's happening?
Can you hear me?
What's good?
How are you guys feeling? No? Thank you. We are so incredibly excited to be here. The Gaming Society is revolutionizing the way that we think about content, gamification, and most importantly, betting on women. This panel and the next panel are really around understanding NFTs, understanding the metaverse, understanding Web3, understanding that no one is truly an expert right now, right? We are all learning. Nice ringtone. We are all learning, and we are all educating each other. And right now, it's a massive opportunity for athletes to get into the space, just like artists, creators, photographers, all of the incredible humans that we know in this new economy. So this incredible panel has had some massive success already, are learning new things, are building new things, and so we're gonna have a great conversation about it. I was gonna do introductions, but because they are better at introducing themselves, and each of them has done some pretty miraculous things in a space that seems new to us, but truly has been around for quite a bit of time, because we are not entering the metaverse, we are in it. Without further ado, I'm gonna start with you, Cam.
Yes, I appreciate that. Hey, everybody. What's happening? Woo! All right. Yeah, Cam Lynch here from Long Beach, California. So I'm from here. Played for the Los Angeles Rams as well, for the Buccaneers too. I left before Brady got there, unfortunately. So not able to win that Super Bowl. But just to the point, being here as a collective, as a group, we're gonna chat sports, we're gonna chat business, NFTs, and I'm really excited about it. And also, you talked about empowering women. That's something that as men in this room that we all should do. And it doesn't happen unless we speak up. So really excited about this conversation today. And I'll pass the mic.
Cassandra.
What's up, everybody? My name is Cass Vegas. I'm from Hawaii. I've been in LA the past 3 years. I'm an educator and NFT community builder in the space. I'm one of the co-founders of NFTs.tips, which is the fastest growing NFT community in the space.
Hey.
I'm sorry, did you say that again? I didn't hear you quite right. The fastest growing what?
NFTs.tips. That's where it all started. Also part of Stratosphere, the DAO, and we had the largest installation of artists in Beijing, China. It was 500 screens, 500 artists. We did that all for free, so that was massive. And I'm now the head of community for Feature, a new platform dropping next year. And behind the project, Huxley, which the artist is Ben Morrow, and he did Halo Infinite that just came out on the 8th, so a couple days ago. So shout out to Ben Morrow on that team. So yeah, I'm Cass. Nice to meet all of you guys.
What's up, guys? My name is Evan Mendoza. I'm a player with the St. Louis Cardinals. So baseball is my passion. I'm also a founder and artist of the Diamond Dogs NFT. Something that I'm really passionate about as far as growing the game. Also, though, introducing people to what we're doing. NFTs, it goes both ways. There's a two-way road. One thing that I really want to hit on, though, is just the power that sports communities have, the power that the teams have, and ultimately, sports is something that brings people together. So we have a tremendous amount of power in this room today to be able to translate, some forces into the NFT world. But we're all very early into this. We hear it every single day. It's really important for us, as kind of just the pioneers in this space, to do it the right way. So that's something I'm also really passionate about. Not sure if I mentioned, but right now I'm living in West Palm Beach, Florida. It's where I live in the off season, and just really excited for next season, and seeing some of the utility with NFTs and how sports figures are able to integrate both spaces. It's gonna be fun.
All right. Go Cards.
I'm Baron Davis, originally here from Los Angeles, California, like real LA,
LA proper.
LA, East Side, Crossroads. I did go to Crossroads, I'm not going to front. This is a private school on the west side. So I would say my life growing up was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but I did not have an Uncle Phil. I was going back to the hood every day. Why am I here? I'm here to support. I played basketball for 13 years. I've been an entrepreneur for damn near 30 years. I was the one crazy dude who fired his agent and was like, yo, I'm gonna be my own agent. And somehow, some way I made it here, so I think I made it. NFT-wise, just here to support the community. You know, we have a makers studio, a makers agency, and we make shit. We make NFTs, we make metaverses, we make technologies, platforms, you know, things like that. So for me, it's like to be the bridge to culture, the bridge to athletes, and you know, to allow athletes in this community to understand that, you know, there is no competition. You know what I mean? This new frontier, we don't have to compete against each other. You know, communities can be built, and if we take our interests and our micro interests and build our micro communities, then ultimately that is the metaverse. But a metaverse ain't shit if you don't have a bunch of micro communities. So that's probably almost something that's
Also, Black Santa NFT dropping December 18th.
Black Santa NFT dropping December 17th.
17th.
They cut my mic off. It must
That was bad.
Black Santa NFT. The mission behind Black Santa was to create a positive black image, so you know the world could see what black people, you know, want the world to be as far as inclusion. And U-Wish is the platform, and so the goal for our NFT launch is to be the Disney of NFTs: characters, IP, books, merchandise, and then hopefully animated series, movies, TV shows. So appreciate y'all if y'all support that. Thank you.
Had to drop that because if we're talking about cool shit that they're making, that's the cool shit that they're making, and on his shirt. Cam Bolden, speaking of creators and cool shit.
Jonah Bolden from Australia.
I'm Cameron.
Former NBA player. Really coming in from DeFi. This is my first kind of event that's been around athlete. I've really kind of gotten deep into the metaverse and seen how coming from a crypto, it was really, you know, technology focused, and NFTs really opened it up to the world, really. And for me, it was just a big kind of bridge where I saw myself kind of really being like just like a synergistic, I guess, advocate for athletes that are, you know, whether it's this whole thing with the Kyrie or the being pushed to the side or whatever it is, you know, just really having a voice for yourself, like they've already touched on, but really knowing and understanding that this technology gives you the power to do this on a you know, individual level. And you know, to Baron's point, it is the individual level, but it's also a positive sum. You know, it's the ability to know that you can do it for yourself opens it up for you to want to do it with others. I think once you're okay with knowing that you can do it yourself, you're really like, you know, how can I kind of help others now? Once you kind of get over that, and for me, really seeing that, you know, there's this influx of, you know, sneaker culture, athletes, you know, music artists. It was just a whole real, you know, fascination, and this whole kind of opportunity here to come and speak to you guys and see this is, you know, falling into my lap. So I just really appreciate it. But yeah, that's me. Thank you.
And last but not least, how do I follow that group of people up? My name is Ethan Bazarganfard. I went to USC, so there's any Trojans.
Don't start that shit in here. Don't start that.
So I'm the co-founder of a company called Playground Studios. That guy right there is my co-founder as well. And we released the 2021 Rookie of the Year's NFT collection with LaMelo Ball. It is a dynamic NFT collection that is intended to record his career on blockchain. There are some cool things technologically that I guess I won't dive into right now, but his stats populate on the NFT, and along the way they distribute rewards to the fans. So kind of like, you know, imagine if a basketball card actually updated on a regular basis and it wasn't just stuck to that moment that you purchased it. That's the concept behind that. And so So I wear many hats in that collection, as far as like partnering, expanding it, connecting it to the metaverses as things pop up, and also community management, all kinds of things. So I'm like pretty knowledgeable. I think I'm very like in the weeds and like deep in it. As far as like community goes, I don't talk to rooms of people. I talk to rooms of Discords usually. So it's a little bit different seeing everyone, over here in real life, but it's nice. It's a refreshing like twist. So yeah, that's about it. It's my intro.
I love that real life humans are the real life twists.
Thank you.
Sometimes I forget to introduce myself. My name is Elisa Jacobs. I run Live Studios and have had the privilege to help strategize and work with the incredible women and men that are supporting women around the gaming society. And we're going to jump right into the conversation.
I feel like I gotta show them some shit. No, it's everything that we've already lived. Pretty much. It's the CD, it's if you go back to the VCR, if you go back to the vinyl, right? If you go to when you bought a fat head, the way we looked at it is, and that was a great definition, and it's just a receipt of authentication and a ticket to access. And so, for so long, creatives, especially athletes, it's like, oh, athletes get paid so much, da 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 da. But all these athletes will tell you, even the one that's current, when the end get close and it's over. You don't have nothing but what you showed up with and what you collected along the way. And the things that you collect are not even valuable to you anymore, but they're valuable to your fans. You know what I mean? They're not valuable to the league. So the league, pretty much owns the factory, right? That you are just, being engineered in and engineered out. And everybody gets their decade. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was like I wanted to, one, start looking at players in this era of roses and say, how can we give people roses in real time? And so let's decentralize the Hall of Fame, right? Let's let people in who are cultural icons. Let's let guys in who were teammates of the Hall of Famers, right? Let's let people in who built the Rucker. Let's let people in who built the leather jacket around, the championship trophy. And so sports is culture. Our mission and our task is to basically, to give and create a platform and an experience, not so much metaverse, but a meta experience where fans, players can connect and share, in those collectibles and those assets, and we can all go and participate and watch and, kind of live out, different games and experiences, in that place.
I love that. Jonah, I'm gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
I think that you've done some really incredible work in this space already, and I think that the audience here, and selfishly, personally, I'm really curious what excited you to get you into it and what you have going on now and what's next.
Well, thank you for that. Everything, I think, like I touched on briefly before, is really what's ignited my kind of fascination with NFT, like non-fungible technology. I think the biggest thing that's at face value is taken, I guess, is the whole PFP, or the profile picture, the avatar, and that's a lot of the things that I'm dealing with just from talking to people. Is like, how is there value in an ape or whatever, even if it is you're verifiable and it is on a blockchain. And I think that even still goes back to what I'm really excited about is the community, the people behind NFTs or projects or Web3, whatever it is. It's really the first time that it gives everyone the ability to have a say, or governance is a big thing. DAOs are going to be a big thing in the next 24, 36. I mean, really right now it's kind of gray area, but it's, you know, I kind of believe that DAOs are the next step in you know, the corporation or the firm, if you want to call it, because I haven't stumbled upon or know anyone that's kind of gone away from the concept of a DAO once they realize what it can do. Because, you know, like Ben was saying, that the whole micro community, that's what a DAO can be, 3 to 6 people, and that's that little micro. It could be 3,000 to 7,000, 3 million. You know, a country can be a DAO. And so that's, I think, DAOs and incorporating an integration, a bridge, real world, metaverse, real world, and having these things like this that are, you know, real world, if you want to call it whatever, where we're still getting away from the NFTs and computers, and we're still interacting and having this environment that'll transpire and catalyze the whole NFTs. So.
Absolutely. Ethan, I want to talk to you about the technology aspect, because when you showed me what you guys created, I was mildly mind blown in terms of a really different format and a really different technical component. So I want to hear more about how you guys got there with that and where you see it going.
Yeah. So what really influenced it is, like, at a starting point, like, who is the customer who's going to purchase a LaMelo Ball NFT? And really, at that point, it's the fans, and it's also the NFT, enthusiasts and the people who just want to, like, flip and collect and be a part of these different communities and are super excited about the space. And, with an athlete, you are kind of limited on how you can connect with them, and it's really limited to watching their games, following them on social media. But a really key part and a key element to, like, why we watch athletes and keep up with them is their actual in-game performance. With musicians, they release music. With artists, they release art. With athletes, their art is actually like their performance in game. And so a key piece of the NFTs is recording the stats on chain. And really that opens the door to tons of gamification opportunities to build. It's like a base level of the athlete fan connection. It's like you're there rooting for your athlete to make that shot. You're rooting for the athlete to, like, get that assist. And so in conceptualizing it, like, making an interface that lets the stats actually populate on the NFT was really important. And from there, like, there's just a ton of imagination that can be, like, applied to it, whether it's in metaverse environments, how having his stats actually change the environment, or having his stats distribute rewards, or having his stats unlock things. It lets you connect to, like, that key part. So you're watching a game and it's like, oh shit, like, I hope Melo gets 3 more 3-pointers, because if he does, I'm gonna get something. And so that's, like, the integration of stats and, like, what really inspired it. And shout out Chainlink for being a part of development of making the Oracle and connecting it, because it wouldn't be possible without Chainlink. There isn't any other way right now to do that.
Yeah, I love the functionality of it. It's one of the most impressive technical exhibits that I've personally seen in NFTs, so I really enjoyed. Sincerely, I just got to see it, so y'all should check it out. But I think that for me personally, like, I started my career in sports. I've worked in 7 different industries, and it's been a really exciting ride. But what I'm passionate about is cult culture. And you spoke to that emotional connection in sports. So I really want to hear from all of our athletes here, right? But Cam, I'll start with you, and I want to move it right along. But I really want to understand, you guys are getting bombarded, right? There's so much opportunity. And Baron's in a unique position where he's already created the entity in the platform, right? But there are a lot of conversations happening, and some of them are really legitimate and some of them are not. What are the watch-outs for you, and what has been appealing in the space, and what has been a little bit standoffish for you?
The people are the most important thing. It's the who. Whenever you do business with anybody, the who is the most important thing. Whoever's on your bus, and wherever that bus is going. That's the most important thing. If you don't have the right people on the bus, get the people off the bus, or the bus is going to crash. And I learned that through business. I started my own media company, and we're starting this crypto athlete space, and I'm realizing we want the right people in this space, not the wrong people. So I think that's extremely important. And we spoke about the frauds, right, and the people who are actually legitimate. And that reminds me of NIL, the name, image, and likeness space. I know a lot of college athletes are going to be jumping into to NFTs in this space, and so it's important for them to have the right people in their corner. So, for an example, Baron, he's an athlete, former athlete. So, as an athlete, and I'm going to keep this hot, right? I call it hot, humble, open, and transparent. I want to ask people here, who has started the NFT process? Who is new to the NFT process? Raise your hand, please. Because I'm very new.
Don't be scared.
Yeah, don't be scared. Yeah, I'm very new. I'm very new. Yeah, I have not, and everybody's like, yeah, me too, yep. I haven't started.
It's under 10 years. Everyone's
I think everyone's new.
Yeah.
That's something that, like,
It's
you
new.
said, everyone is new. Some people who know, some things, they understand, like, some of the tech or some of the capabilities, but, like, everyone's new.
Yeah, everybody's new. It's like the internet almost. You know what I mean? Like when our parents, when the internet came, they're like, oh, what is this? Like, I want to learn about it, and they were a little standoffish. But I'll pass it to you. I know you want to chime in.
I was just going to say that I think it's interesting that we're all up here and we're so okay with failing. Because we're going to be one of the first people to do what we're doing, we're so okay with that concept. Playing baseball, I've been failing 70% of my life. I know what I'm
I was
doing.
literally gonna say, like, athletes, you're used to failing.
Yeah. Right.
Like, this is common nature, right? So, but I'll let you keep going. Like, athletes fail.
Yeah, my mindset.
I'm gonna let you finish, bud.
Because baseball, there's so much failure. It's like in the real world for me and all the business ideas and everything that I go through, I almost see everything as such a real possibility. Just because I understand how much failing there is in the game that I love, and I'm so used to it. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. We all know that. It's how many times you get back, you get back up.
Yeah, and that's true. And to that point, it's a lot of times people get the imposter syndrome, right? I'm probably the only one here on this panel who doesn't have an NFT, right? And like some people in here are like, hey, is everybody new? And has anybody started the NFT? Everybody's like, yep. Like some people here probably don't have NFTs, and that's okay. I'm a community builder. I'm a kingdom builder, and I know that there's athletes here who have the product. I have the community. I know where the kingdom is. And so I want to make sure that, and we talked about the who when we first chatted, the who's important, so I can bring the proper who to the athlete community and continue to build. So I'm really excited about it. And to your point, you asked the question is how do we discern who is true and who is not? Have the right people in the space, and that's very important, like these athletes here. So I'll pass the mic.
I love that, and I think that one of the things that's the most exciting to me in this space is the tribal element to the community. It is really rallying behind each other, around the artists. I think that there's a huge opportunity for democratization in this space. Just like every other vertical of culture, there's challenges with misogyny, with sexism, with racism, with anything you can add ism to. And that said, the community is so supportive and so honestly like rampant and radical and ravaging for wanting more from each other and wanting to support each other. How do we, as stewards of the space, as we enter this as leaders, as we enter this as creators, as we enter this as collectors, because the collector community needs as much democratization as a creator economy, how do we protect the space? How do we protect the humanity, both in terms of hybrid with reality, so we're not just digitizing and slugs that live in our phones, if we aren't already, and how do we also protect it to create space for others as we enter? And I'm actually going to keep that open, because whoever would like to chime in.
I have a thought, yeah.
I bet you do.
Well, I always think like the transparency in the space itself is my favorite part about the space. And the reason that is, it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity in this space. I've seen a lot of celebrities flop in this space, and I've seen nobodies become somebodies in this space. So the transparency in how the tech is formed and how the community is formed literally reveals itself. And so another thing is time. So when you see someone, they come in and then they came out, it's a term called cash grab sometimes, but then you see people that just consistently build and build, and then they collab and build, and then they collab and build. And that's that form of time that goes, okay, this space is transparent. They've been here from day one. They're continuing to think of the next 10 years. And that's kind of how it weeds out itself. So I love how the community vouches for it, and the blockchain itself makes it transparent of who's really down to stay.
One thing I'm really bullish on is your reputation. I think with literally Etherscan alone, everything's right there. Everything's a public transaction. You can't hide from anything. And I think that's where, honestly, society could really go towards, is who keeps their word, who keeps their promises, and who does that the longest time. I love the show Black Mirror. There's that one episode where each interaction, you were addicted me. I'm gonna give you a 2-star rating. But that's what I'm saying. It's like the reputation that we carry ourselves every single day almost has a numeric value to it.
Yeah.
And then that's contagious to the community that you're building, if that's what you're into, whatever you're doing in this space, it's respect and reputation, honestly.
Yeah.
I really do think, transparency is definitely a huge part of it as well, but your reputation is something that I take pride in, of course we all do, and you don't want to ever mess that up.
I think I got an idea to this. The way we protect ourselves, right? We have to create a different value chain.
Facts.
Right? So, who gives a fuck about how much money you make? You know what I mean? What is your rating? What is your value rating as a person to the community, to the people? Right? And I think that sports, we already got our community. We here. You know what I mean? Shit, we wouldn't all show up, Avid Kenny, everybody, we here. Athletes, we got fans. We love our fans. I don't even say I have fans. I say people fuck with me. You know what I mean? If you fuck with me, you fuck with me. That's how it goes. So if we create the value system and the Forbes and all that shit, it's that shit is not predicated on how much money you got, how much money you're making, but the value of who you are as a human being. We can actually protect ourselves and protect ourselves from, the vultures by holding ourselves accountable to the person. You know what I mean? And I think the success is in your contributions to the community, who you uplifted. You know what I mean? Your service work, you know what I mean? As well as, just putting people on. And I think that's more valuable, right, than someone holding the most Bitcoin or I'm tired of following these motherfuckers, man. And I'm all our shit together, we may have half, you know what I mean? But they gonna wanna come kick it with us. And so, even though this athlete community and sports community is probably going to be the last real frontier, the culture in sports, the artists who've never been recognized, who do dope ass shit, they're gonna have an opportunity to be recognized. Look at all the dope artwork, look at all the dope designer. Sports is going to, explode because we really have tangible assets. We really have access. We really got games to go to, right? And, games to play. So, I just feel that is where we can protect ourselves in this new space, and the value proposition is going to be, your contribution to the game, to society. You know what I mean?
I think that's so important. For those that didn't hear, one of the things Baron said was around the value chain. And I think that so much of what we measure is around output instead of input, what you've taken instead of what you've given. And this is an area, an arena, a universe, a metaverse, a metaphysical experience that's allowing you to actually be measured by your contributions to society, to culture, to art, and it's really special. And the thing about sports that's so interesting is the point of differentiation almost across any vertical of culture, I would venture to say humbly, is loyalty. There is more loyalty, there's more skin in the game. You heard us all like repping our schools, repping our cities, like there's an element of affinity and camaraderie of community. And when you can have that baseline of community that you don't actually have to work for, every other vertical of culture creates it around a like-mindedness or an interest group, right? It can all be there, but sports is the only vertical of culture, in my opinion, that comes in from the entry point with loyalty, with community, and with camaraderie. I think that was a cosign. I really want to hear from you too, because I think that you have. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say everything that has been said for me is touched on everything. I think the only thing I would kind of add to it is the education.
Yep.
You know, like I can't keep using the word bridge, but that's how I view it. I kind of like for some people, intimidating bridge, you know, some people that, you know, I mean, early on, even talking to my family just about crypto, you know, like before NFTs, that was the real bridge, and that's where I'm seeing NFTs have kind of, you know, mitigated that and opened them up to wanting to know more, and then they've just, you know, stumbled upon the fact that now you're back at square one, which is what I was telling you about, which is the cryptos, you know, and so that's where I realized is creating, you know, bridges of education and culture is, you know, us being here is the first step. Like I was thinking, even if we had here the POAP, you know, the proof of attendance protocol, where you know, the only way you get the NFT is by being here. And so that there goes back to, you know, just what Baron was saying, the reputation. So I can verify, you know, where you've been at by the NFT you have. And so now where brands and start incorporating and seeing their, you know, if their fan base is loyal, were you at the event or not, you know, and so that's a big thing there. There's just so many different things that the blockchain has kind of allowed for now, and you know, that's the biggest thing I think is the education.
Yeah, and it's become the new flex, right? Like,
yeah.
It's no more, where's Dan? Dan's here somewhere. Dan posted a really incredible element of like trying to understand what it means to screenshot an NFT versus actually own one, right? And it's the flex of like, I'm gonna post a picture of me up against someone else's Lambo, Maserati, Bentley, whatever. You don't own the title, you don't own the rights, you don't have any resale value. It's a very nice picture, but there's actually no, right? And so I will not, that was Dan Flashman, wherever he is, I will not take credit. But I think there's a really important element there of, it is the new flex, right? But the clout has shifted from guilty by association or by what you've earned or been given or had privilege in to what you've actually created or what you've contributed. So Ethan, I think that I'd really like to hear from the technological perspective what you see is sort of happening in the future and why NFTs are here to stay, if you believe they are.
Yeah, I definitely do believe they are. And she looked away. I was just like, oh, it's on.
That was me. That was me.
I definitely do believe they are. I think that as far as a future in it gives opportunities, and there's tons of different opportunities. As she said earlier, you know, your imagination is really like where it ends. So it's endless, like what you can do with tokenized environments, token gating, you know, giving people capabilities that otherwise they wouldn't have because they're supporters. And it doesn't need to be monetary supporters, just the fact that they like took the attempt to own your thing or mint your thing, whatever you're trying to create. You, the creator, get to decide what it becomes. And so I think that's what is the coolest part of it. And so I don't have an answer of like what this will become, but I know that the infrastructure to create really massive and really, you know, like world-changing things is there, and people are experimenting and tinkering with it in a way that like is similar to the internet in you know, the 90s. Back then I was a little baby, but the .com bubble happened and tons of people were exploring different concepts of what the internet can do and trying different things, and some of them were super overvalued and some of them, you know, failed. But from it came Google, came Airbnb, came Uber, and so there's really no telling like what will come from this new tokenized environment, this new like tech stack, this new infrastructure of creation. And so that's why I like believe in this space, because people are creating using this new technology and really like the opportunities are endless, and it's like limited, on your capacity to like understand it and ideate and turn it into like actual tech. So
I wouldn't necessarily put too much pressure on yourself to think that you have to be the one figuring it out.
Totally not.
I think it's awesome because your space, it's so community driven.
Yeah.
With my project, a lot of the decisions that were made did not come from me. It came straight from the community, and that transparency of like making it feel like a DAO where like everyone has a say, everyone has a vote.
Yeah.
I think is just so incredibly valuable, and to put the pressure on like any one individual to come up with the biggest and best ideas of the world, that's not reasonable. I think it's all coming together and, having those ideas together.
Yeah, it's early. We meet like 3 times a week and, 3-hour conversations, and it's like, so-and-so is building AI, so-and-so is building, AR, XR. Somebody just told me some shit about that. Somebody is building
Never not learning.
Cloud, right? And so as we all connect, it's like, how can we put all this shit together? And like, we're talking about a metaverse, but like it's so early, right? That like you can start building some shit and overbuild, and it may not happen over at Decentraland. We don't, you know what I mean? We don't know. So it's super early, and I think the opportunity is now to just like jump in the game, learn the game, and like link up, right?
Yeah.
We believe in collectives. Collectives are going to become the micro, economy, right, of that brand. And like, if you can get a collective around the brand, then, brand to brand, right, is going to build whatever this next verse is. I'm sorry to keep
Yeah, no, and just to emphasize that, like this idea of collaboration and like embracing collaboration is really, really like native to this space, and the technically speaking, like the ability to create things that are interoperable and exist. Like we released LaMelo NFTs, but that doesn't mean that our NFTs can't interact with anyone else's NFTs. It's just a matter of communicating, making something that makes sense, and then actually like, connecting it. So the communities that you're creating individually have a really good opportunity to also interact with other communities and have like a network in a way. So I think that's also another, like technically speaking, like the ability for interoperability is just huge in the NFT space.
It's an entire ecosystem, and I think that there needs to be a fearlessness in entering it, right? So many people here, so many people up here, people feel like there's a divide in who got there first, or first movers, or who sold the most or earned the most or whatever. The reality is, as Baron said, it's early. It's still early. You're still an early adapter, an early adopter. You're still a creator, whether you're an executive or an entrepreneur, whether you're an artist or an athlete, whether you are an operator, an engineer, whatever you might be, there's a space for you. And as Ethan was saying, it is interoperational, it is interchangeable, but it is at the intersection of collaboration over competition. I'm going to say that again, it's the collaboration over competition. We spoke about competition earlier. It is no longer about there's only one of one or one of some, as ironic as it is, because it's the entire premise of what the actual NFT is. Within the community, you only rise together. If Bored Apes launched and there weren't a massive amount of folks getting behind it together, it would still be sitting around. Same with CryptoPunk, same with any of these things that have gone viral or really become wildly successful seemingly overnight. Just like every entertainer takes 5-10 years to be an overnight success. It's a little bit shorter in the digital world, but it still takes time, it takes effort, it takes community.
I think it's based on what he said, interoperability.
Yeah, interoperability.
Bridges.
100%. It's bridges, it's connecting, it's doing this, it's showing up in real life and making contacts. You're in a room with some of the most brilliant brains in the space. People that have had success in selling, in creating, in buying, people that are looking to learn, some of the top brands and some of our amazing sponsors. One of the things Jonah said around education, I think is really important to highlight, because the entire premise of the Gaming Society isn't just about gamification, isn't just about content, it isn't about Kevin Garnett and Jamie Messler, who are icons in sports. It is about education, it is about access to entry, it is about democratization and gender equity and diversity. It is about understanding and learning things that we don't know because everyone thinks they're a guru and we're not. And so finding ways to edify each other and also know that you can learn from anyone. There are so many people. If you, at some point in this night, do not exchange numbers or Instagrams or Twitters or Discords or whatever platform you want to choose with at least 3 to 5 people, pardon my French, you fucked up. You played yourself because this is a room that if you do not leave with projects and profits and products and partners, why are you here besides excellent drinks and really good company? So I know that everyone's a little antsy. We're gonna ask 2, excuse me, I meant that part. 2 more quick questions and a really quick rapid fire. We're gonna wind it down so everyone can have some drinks, get situated, use the restroom, and then we have another amazing panel with my very dear friend Will Tong and some, thank you, you need a microphone. Will, you heard that? So we're going to come back for another incredible panel, but we're going to take a quick break in between so that we can actually make some of those connections. We were speaking about education, and Cass, I really want to talk to you about that. Access to entry. You know, you have built community, you have done some incredible things in the space, and the fastest growing in the entire metaverse, right? And so what does it take to get in the game?
Raise your hand if you know what gas fees are.
I learned that.
All right. So I know we all talk about the positive things, right? But we have to also point out some of the gaps in the space.
Yeah.
So that's my interest is where are the problems and how can we fix that?
Yeah.
Gas fees is one of those. So say you want to buy your first NFT. You're trying to convince someone, yo, you should get this NFT. Maybe it costs like 50 bucks. But then all of a sudden the gas is 350 bucks. And so now it's 400 bucks. How are you supposed to convince someone who knows nothing about NFTs?
Sounds like LA Automotive.
GM. And now it's 400 bucks, right? So that's an inequality. And what I mean by that is not everyone can afford to pay that gas fee.
Yep.
And so some of the interim solutions are, okay, we have a side chain. Come and buy it here, it's less gas fees, but then 90% of the chain is more on Ethereum, right? Where the audience are, where the buyers are, where the artists are, where the collectors are, right? So that's an inequality gap, right? So part of educating is it's not just inspiring you guys and saying, you should do this, right? It's also saying, there's issues in this space. There's scammers in this space. There's rugs. Do you know what a rug pull is? Hey! And that's not only people, that's platforms.
If you don't know what a rug pull is, you're not doing it right.
Not yet. But you have to talk about these things. You have to talk about security. You have to talk about a cold wallet, a physical hard drive versus, just a browser. And so that's really important because what are you doing if you're half introducing someone to the space?
Right.
And then they lose out everything they put in.
Your brand, your legacy, what you leave behind. People always remember how you make them feel. Always. So to the point is, in this space, there's celebrities and they're hot and they're making moves. If you're a bad person, get on with yourself, you know what I mean? And so it's very important to treat people well. People always remember how you make them feel. So whether that's digitally or in person, you gotta make them feel well every time. And so people say, hey Cam, is there anything I can do for you? I just say, hey, talk great about me when I'm not there. That's it, just talk great about me and I'll be good. So that's my advice. Treat people well and you'll be all right.
I think that's great advice in real life too. With that, we are so appreciative that you guys are here. We want to let you get hydrated, get your food and drinks, and we're going to come right back. But my name is Elisa Jacobs. This is an incredible panel. We are so incredibly, absolutely happy. Of course, the Gaming Society, Scrye, are the ones that put this together and have put so much time, energy, sweat equity. Please check them out and let me know if you need anything. Talk to each other, make friends. Everyone in here has been invited by someone that matters, that is at the core of this project. So just know that there are no plus ones. There's everyone in this room is someone that you should know. And we'll see you in 10-20 minutes for another panel.
And buy the Black Santa NFT.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna tell you some